welcome back to another video. This is Naveen here. So in the recent days, I got a lot of questions from different folks asking how to make a custom reports with PowerShell. Like let's say they want to run a bunch of queries against the database and generate a report out of it. Like it could be for like checking the missing backup status or checking the replication or availability group related information and how they can generate a report out of it. So I thought it's good to make a video on this topic so that it would be helpful for everyone, because like I do know there are a lot of scripts which is available online, ready-made scripts, but the intention of this video is to explain how someone can make their own report for their own requirement. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show. Let's dive in. Okay, this is my VM and I have a standalone SQL instance which is installed on this machine, and I have a VS Code installed. So this is where we are going to write the script. So this video will have two parts, two different sections, because we are going to generate a HTML report. So I thought it's better to talk a little bit about the HTML format, like how the file is built, like what all things we should be knowing for us to work on the HTML side. So before starting the PowerShell part, what I will do is I'll quickly show a little bit on the HTML side. What we will do is I'm going to create a test file with .html. Okay, so usually like all the reports whatever we are going to build, it will be with this extension. So first let's try to see how you could how a normal HTML file looks like, right? So that this will give you a better feel how you are going to build on top of this. Okay, so since I have my Copilot integrated, so it's giving me recommendations, but what we will do is let's not go with that for now. So in HTML, all these things the file, whatever we write, everything is written with tags. So all the files will start with this HTML and this is a closing tag. I'll just go with the basics. Okay, we don't have to go through all of the details. Let's go with the basics. What I'll do is let's not worry about the head as well. For now I'll just say title, and I'll say title as test page, and then what we will do is we'll do head, and what I'm doing is like we started with HTML and I told there is something called closing tag, and here again I started something called title and I've named it as test page. Again I have closed the title, and then I started a switch called head tag, and this is the header of my page. Let's just keep it simple, and let's say we want to have a body. This is a test page. So what I will do is I'll just save this. Okay, now let's look at this page to see how it looks like. Okay, now let's see. Now if you see the test page, whatever I have written here, okay, as a title, that is the title of my page. That's what you see it here. Okay, and what other things I have here is this is the header of my page, and then immediately I have a body, and this is also on the same page. Okay, now what I will do is, let's add something extra. Okay, now we know, like we have set the title. Okay, and probably what I will do is, we'll do something like this. We'll see how you can adjust the font size. Okay, I'll say H1, and again, all these things are very basics. I'm just giving you some info which might be helpful for you. Okay, I'll just say H2, and we will close this. Now let's go and this is the page. Now if you see, H1 gives you a different font, and then H2 gives you a different font size. Okay, basically you can have this as your header, and then this is again, like, it gives you in the bold format, and the font size basically differs. Okay, for example, if I have another body, and let me just remove this, or instead of body, I'll do something like this. We also have a paragraph. Okay, this is a test paragraph. Okay, I got this automatically filled with Copilot. Let me refresh this. Okay, you see, right, this is a normal text. Again, this is the very basic thing. Okay, for you to understand how HTML works. Now let's switch on to PowerShell. Okay, just keep this knowledge. So you know, there is something called title, there is something called header, and there is a body for my page, and I can also have paragraph. Similarly, there is also like other functionalities where you can add list of items or a table related data, which we will even see it in the demo in the later part. Okay, now I'm going back to my PowerShell file. Okay, so as a first step, okay, what I'm going to do is, we'll start with a very basic one for us. Okay, now let's say I have a requirement where I'm going to like run some queries on the SQL, and I want to get that as a report. Okay, so for this, let's say I'm just querying the databases. Okay, and let's not go with all the columns. I'll just go with maybe name and the status. Okay, state of the database. So I have like 8 databases including my system DB, and this is the state of all of my databases. So what I'll do, let's take this query from PowerShell. Okay, if you want to talk to SQL Server, we have something called invoke SQL CMD. Okay, using this you can talk to SQL Server. What I will do is, I'll just say localhost, and I'll give the query. Now this works, we are getting the same data. Okay, so what we did, it's invoke SQL CMD, and then hyphen, server instance is my instance name, that's a parameter, and then I have supplied the query. If you want to pass any specific database related context, like if you want to switch to a different database, you can have a hyphen database and provide the DB name. Now let's take this query, and I'll go back to the Visual Studio. Let me move this. So now we have a query for which we want to get the output. Okay, so this will give me name and state. Now what I will do is, I'm going to assign this entire output to a variable, so that every time I don't have to like call the whole code. Right now I've just assigned it to a variable, and then let's just print the variable. In PowerShell, this is how you put a variable, you don't have to declare it. So I'm just directly defining a variable and telling whatever is the output, get it assigned to this variable. Now let's run this, and in this terminal what I'm going to do is I'm going to print. So right now it's not printing because I have to select. Okay, so this variable, okay, even before I do select, right, there is a commandlet called get member. Okay, wait, this is not printing. Let's see what is happening. I'll just say get member just to show you how it looks like. Okay, what we will do is let's select the whole and run. Okay, this is what I was expecting, but okay, for some reason this output is little bit, this is not what I expected. But what I will do, let's take this and let's try it from here. For some reason that font is not correct, but we'll switch back to Visual Studio. What I will do, I want to show you something called get member. Okay, so with get member, okay, what it will show you is, like in this case it is just the two columns which we are fetching. Okay, that's what you see in the property. And if I just call db, right, this is going to give me this data. This is what we are expecting. Right now the query result is stored in this variable. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, now there is a separate commandlet called convert to HTML. Okay, I'm going to use that to convert this result to a HTML. Now see the power of Copilot. Okay, I'm just going to say convert the result of $db to HTML report. Now if you see, if I just wait for like few seconds, it's going to give me the suggestion. Okay, but again, like let's not go with that. I'm going to manually do it so that we could take a look at all the parameters. So convert to HTML is the commandlet which we are going to use. Okay, and I'm going to take the output as a table. So again, there are these are the different set of parameters which you could pass in. Okay, what I will do is, if you search, let's see, okay, so these are the different parameters which can be supplied to convert to HTML. In this, if you see, you know, like what is a body, head, title. This is something which I showed you with the normal HTML. Okay, and there is something called post content, pre content, all these things. These are the different parameters. Now switching back, so we are taking the data in a table format. Okay, and then property is something like what columns we have. We have name and state. I'll just say state. Okay, let's keep it simple. Other things I'm not going to add it for now. So right now we are just querying these two things, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say output to a file. Okay, and let's say I'll say the file path as ctemp, and let's say SQL Server report. And immediately in the very next line, I'm going to say, if you want to open a file, whatever we have created, there is a commandlet called invoke item. Okay, and I'm going to use that and provide the path. Okay, this is what, again, like double quotes is not needed. That's fine, I'll remove it. Now let's run this whole code. Okay, because it does not exist. Okay, what we will do is, let's run this. Okay, now if you see, we got the data from a variable, and now we have used something called convert to HTML, and then send that output to a different command that called out file. Okay, with this we did a very basic thing. Okay, and still the output is not looking so great, but we got the output in a HTML file. Now what we will do is we'll try to improvise this. Okay, let's say we'll get the same thing. Probably I'll copy the same thing, and let's keep this. Just to differentiate, I'll just name this as db1, or I'll just say v1, and v1. Okay, now we are going to build on top of this. Okay, what we will do is we are going to add few more parameters to make this better. Now what we will do is we'll say title. Okay, I'll just say db status report. I'll enable this autosave so that every time I don't have to save. Now once this is done, right now we have added a title. Okay, I told you there is something called pre-content. Okay, let's see what data it has. This db status report from local SQL instance. I'm just giving some random context just to show what we get. What I'll do is, let's select this and run this part. Now if you see, wait, let me close this. We got the title as db status report, and it says db status report from the local SQL instance. Okay, this is the pre-content which we have got. What we will do is we'll see how this pre-content can be made better. Okay, we can add something called header. Okay, the font size, if you remember, which I showed you in the normal file, we're going to do the same thing here. Now let's close this with a tag. Again I'll rerun this part, and now if you see, the output will be better, right? So compared to this is better. Now what we are missing is, we are just missing those proper formatting and adding a table so that it looks even more better. For us to add those additional tables, etc., okay, this is where we will need something called CSS templating. Okay, in this current code we haven't added any additional style using which you could format the report. For that, okay, what I have done is, I have this template handy. Okay, this is something which will instruct how your data, or how your data is going to be formatted. Okay, like how your body of the HTML will be formatted, how the table will be formatted, table header, table data, all these things are defined here. Okay, what I will do is, I'll just copy this as it is. Okay, you don't have to worry about it for now. Just imagine like you're adding additional things. Okay, this part alone, maybe you can use this as it is, or use your ChatGPT to customize it, but this is what we are going to use it for our demo. I'll make sure like all these things are available to you in a GitHub repo, which you could take it directly and experiment it yourself. Now We added something called CSS, right? We have to integrate that with our code. What I will do is, um, as of now, we have added title pre-content. Now there is something called head, which we will add. So there is a parameter called header. Let me type here, and we are going to pass in this CSS style, whatever is set. Now you see the magic. What happens? I'm going to execute this. You see the formatting is automatically taken care. So this part is going to do the magic for you to, like, all those fancy colors, whatever you want, will be handled with this CSS formatting. Okay, so we have added that in our hyphen head parameter, and that's it. So with that, we were able to make a better report. Like I would say, like, still this is not so good, but at least, like, this is much more better. And from where we started, it was like just a plain data, right? Initially that's what we had. Now let me close this. So we have seen like how you could do it for a single query, okay? But in reality, you will have more than one queries, right? Let's see how you could get that. Okay, for that, what we will do is, let's keep the CSS as it is, and we'll keep this part also as it is. I'll just remove this, and let's see what other things we have to add. So we have a pre-content which says db status report. I'll just remove this, and we'll also remove this out file also. We don't need it at this point. And in fact, like, we also don't need this because we are going to combine everything in the final output. Okay, for now let's keep it simple with these details alone. And this is the db status. Similarly, what we will do is, probably we'll get the SQL agent job related details. I'll just say sys jobs. Again, this is just a random thing, okay? Just to show you how you could get the data from different queries and put it in a single report. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible so that it's easy for you to follow. I'll just say, we'll just say job underscore v1, and let's just copy as it is. Okay, and similarly, like, I'm going to pass this output again to something like this. I just went with tab so that I was fine with the suggestions which came up. So it says SQL agent job status. Let's leave it as it is. Okay, that's fine. Now we have to club this. Okay, whenever you want to club the output, okay, we need the output in a string format. So what I'll do is, I'll add a parameter called outString. Okay, so this is one change. Okay, when you want to club two different outputs. Okay, and to make it even more complex, right, or to cover other scenarios. Now there might be scenarios where you want to run some PowerShell script, PowerShell commandlet itself, which is going to get some details about your operating system or service status. Let's say, for example, get service SQL. Okay, this will give me a list of all the SQL service status, and in this I'm going to take select object. I'll say name, and status. Let's say I want this also to be printed in my output. Okay, that's the scenario. We'll add this also to our report. For this, I'll just say again, like we'll put this in a variable as a first part, so that then we can process that data later. I'll say service status. Again, this is a variable name, it can be any name. I'll just take this, and again we are going to process it. Let me see, I think okay, by the way, I missed one part here, because like we are assigning this output to a variable, but we are not storing this data in any of the variable. So what I will do is, we'll just say $db HTML. Okay, I'm just storing it as HTML. Similarly here also, I'll introduce another variable saying, I just noticed like we missed this part. I'll just say we are storing this variable. Similarly, we have to do for this as well. I'll just say HTML, and let's take this, and now we are going to convert this to HTML. Okay, and if you see, it's giving a suggestion. Let's see how it looks like. It says like I want to get the name and status. Let's not take the title, because we are going to keep it in a single report. And I'll say SQL services state service. Let's leave it, let's say SQL services status maybe, and again we are doing it to a out string. Okay, now we are going to combine all this data. So what we will do is, final output, it gives me this suggestions. I'm okay with that. Let's put this, I don't think we need to do addition. Let's just keep it as it is. Okay, so what we are doing is, the final output, I'm adding the CSS style, and whatever variable we have stored as a CSV, not CSV, the HTML data, I'm just combining it together. Now the final part is like, we are just going to say what is going to be the path. I'll set the path also as a variable, and we'll just say SQL Server health check report. I'm fine with that name. And then what we are going to do is, okay, I'm pretty much okay with this suggestions. I don't think we just have to use this. So here we are combining all the output, and I'm just saying out file to this path, and then we'll just do invoke item and the path. Okay, so this is the code which we have written. Let's run this and see. I'm not sure how it is going to come, but let's see. Okay, there are errors which we'll see, but if you see, we got DB status, SQL jobs, SQL service status alone, we haven't got it. So let's see what is the error. Okay, it says CSS is not a recognized commandlet or function, and cannot be bound to parameters. Okay, let's see what got missed, right? So we are taking this data. Okay, this is the problem actually. I missed it. So basically there was a pipe symbol, and now we have corrected this one. Let's give it a try. I would run this again. and see how the output looks like. So now if you see, this report looks much more better, right? So we got DB status, SQL job related information. This is what the query we have written, and we also had a native PowerShell commandlet data in our report. So I think these are the common scenarios which you will have. With this format, I think you should be able to build your own health check reports with your own custom queries, like whatever data you wish to have it in your report, just write a T-SQL code for it or the PowerShell commandlet. With this approach, you could combine everything and build your own report. Again, you could add further CSS styles, like if you could also have a highlight, like if you want to highlight any service which is in stop state, you could also add that in this, or if you want to highlight any databases which is not online, those things can be highlighted separately in this report using the CSS formatting. Okay, so that is something I'll leave it for you to explore it, but this is what I had. I hope you found this helpful. Please do let me know your feedback in the comment section, and if you want me to do for any specific scenario for any of the automation or this PowerShell reporting, you can just let me know. Probably I'll try to cover that in the upcoming video. So that's it. Thank you.